Hello, welcome to the Orwell Hotel. I think this is our third or fourth or fifth different venue to interview various authors, and we have actually interviewed quite a few. Financial, The End of the World is Nigh, we had Slippery Slope and all that. Now we're to the ladies who've done some remarkable things, and one thing I hadn't realised until they just said is they're all on their fifth book, which is quite remarkable. Congratulations to you all.
Oh, thank you.
Now, I just wanted to tell you that it's obligatory that you should buy one of these wonderful canvas bags. The sales price is but a mere £3. They actually cost about 50p, don't they? But bear in mind, the book festival needs all the support it can get to grow big and strong and into the future. So I've made my contribution this morning. Plus, I bought a number of books so the children will have to go on beans.
Excellent.
That's it.
Yeah, they'll
Soda.
understand.
Now, can we kick off with you, Ruth? Because we have had the occasional word, haven't we?
We have a few times, like.
And you've been having a little sojourn in Luxembourg.
Yes.
You know, I remember it as Radio Luxembourg when I was a lad, under the blankets,
Me
listening
too.
to the, the medium wave fading in and out and in and out. And that really shook up the BBC.
Yeah.
From a point of view of bringing in rather more better programming. But we'll forget about it.
Because I'm too young to remember that. So.
I know you are. God. I mean, you don't even remember the light programme, do you?
No.
There you go. So we'll pass on. Now, you've written 5 books, and today you've got 2 of them here with you. You've got the last one, Humber Boy B, that I think we launched at the library, did we not?
Yes, actually,
and we also
yes.
did it. So there is a piece on that particular book that's already on Felixstowe TV's back catalogue, isn't it? So you can find it if that's what you wish
That's
to do.
it. We launched at the library, that one. And then this one came out in November. And this one is the one that's set in Luxembourg. So while I was there for 2.5 years, I was finishing off Humber Boy B, but I was researching and writing Nowhere Girl.
Now, I mean, I only got a bit of it because we've been running around like a colour and a part of the body fly all day. So I didn't sadly have the time to come and do the whole bit. But it struck me it was dealing with the Islamic problem that it's the actual creation of a terrorist within the European context and then sent off, not knowing the promises being made to it are totally false.
Yes.
So it's quite a difficult issue.
It is.
And requires a lot of research.
Yes, but in Luxembourg, we're right near the German border.
Yeah.
And of course there was lots of refugees arriving and they all had their own stories. And there was, I was able to go and visit these centres and speak to them, and they were telling me about why they'd come to Germany, to Luxembourg, and their stories. And as I heard these stories, I thought I need to write about this.
Right.
Because it's a refugee situation from a different view. When I've come back to England, I haven't met a single refugee in Suffolk, and the response has been completely different here.
Right. But I mean, the referendum we've just had would have you believe there were thousands pouring through the border.
And I have to say, in Luxembourg, we were doing collections so that every family had a suitcase, collecting clothes, cake bakes. It was welcome, and let us see what we can do for you. And I was actually shocked to come back at some of the vitriol and the fear, and actually it's not backed up by people we're seeing.
No.
So
But I mean, I just share this, just one little point with you. On the day of the people voting, I was able to get some of the massive resources that Stronger Inn had available, and some of these eventually found their way to the Eastern Front, which is what this is.
Yes.
And it was 9 balloons.
Oh,
So
really?
that was as much as they could afford us. So we tied them together in a group, and I got a ladder out, and I was by the shop, and I was tying a group of balloons to a stanchion, and a lady went down the street and said, "Traitor!"
Really?
For tying some balloons on a stanchion in Felixstowe in the middle of, you couldn't get it much whiter, could you?
Yes. No.
Really?
This is a stronghold.
So,
This is a
well,
stronghold
I mean, I
for-
think they've
for
really
these.
stirred up an awful lot of
Yes.
hatred.
hate.
Yes.
So, I
And
mean,
xenophobia.
your next lot of books, I think, for all three of you, will probably write themselves, because sadly, we're coming to a sad pass, aren't we?
And we all read bits that are from. Well, you both
Yes,
read
from-
bits from Greece. I was reading a bit of a refugee. So yeah, it's going to have to influence what the books that come next.
Yes,
I think
yes.
it's huge.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we have a divided nation and a whole hornet's nest that's been stirred up by
Yeah.
lies and
Misinformation.
fear, misinformation.
But you
Yes.
know, I went to a debate in Hadley, and it had a UKIP representative, an MEP actually, who writes quite a lot of stuff in a paper I'm not prepared to name. It's a red top, and it's supposed to be fast. It's something fast, so that gives just a clue. And I had with me a map of Europe, the time when each nation joined, but equally beside it I had the full audited accounts for the United Kingdom payments to the common pot since 1973. And it showed that the payment for this 2015 was actually half of the amount that Boris has been driving around written on his bus. And it's just fabricated on false information, and an awful lot of people went to vote on a false premise. So the fact that you said 3 million people have already said
Yeah, they have. Yeah, want a
Westminster
second
must debate it and sort it is certainly to be encouraged. Anyway, sorry about that, dear viewer. We're here to talk about books, aren't we?
Yes.
So, hit us with yours, Julia. Yeah? So this is one of 5. So what order
Two
are
of
those
5,
in?
yes. So this is my first book. It's called Cuckoo, and I think it came out in 2011 or 2010. I can't remember now.
Oh,
I think it
Time-
was 2011. If we were all the
2011,
same
yeah.
time, yeah.
2011.
Time flies.
Yes, well, because I wrote it, and first draft was 2007, so it kind of took a while to get
Yes.
out to the outside world. But publishing is an incredibly slow process,
Yes,
and
it
you
is.
only realise that once you're in there. And it takes a year from it to go from first draft to
So at
to
what
first
point do
proof.
you start to make a profit and a living?
That's a really good question.
Oh, I love it.
Yes, I make as much as I would if I was a junior teacher at the moment.
Well, ideal.
And
Yeah, you crack
it's enough.
on.
It's
No, you
enough.
crack-
I make a living, and sometimes you get little extras like film money and stuff. So
Right.
So you can live in the hope of that film that was
Oh,
on
that's it in the
being made.
biggie. Yeah, you crack
so
on.
but
Travel, hopefully.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and you get to do lovely events like this, which is great. And it's one of the I love writing, but I also love getting out and meeting people and doing things and getting across
where
the
do you live?
country.
I
I live
didn't-
down in Brighton, in fact.
Do you? That far away?
Yeah, and the People's
Were you
Republic
al-
of Brighton and Hove.
So were you allowed through passport control when you came into this area? Because
Well,
it is
yeah.
being reinstated.
Yeah, I know, yes, well, but-
on the
but-
M25,
But
just as you
but
come
as
across.
an Essex girl, I was allowed up because I've got
Essex
dual
girl in
dual
Brighton sounds
nationality.
toxic. That really sounds toxic. From what I remember of Brighton, very toxic.
Yeah.
So,
So this is and then so then after this there's a book called Every Value Break, which is my theatre novel, because I worked in theatre for many years, and then Tarnished, which is my family imploding because of love novel.
Right.
Excessive love, the things you do for love, which is one of my common themes. And then this is The Long Fall, which is my most recent published novel. The next one, the 5th one, is out in January, and it's called Her Husband's Lover, out in January.
That could
Her
be
Husband's Lover.
interesting. Not
and-
mistress.
No.
Ah, right. Yeah, ticks a few boxes.
Ticks a few boxes. But this one is based on my my travels when I was 18. I backpacked on my own around Europe. And
Did
it's
you really?
and those parts were partly based in 1980 and partly based in the present day. And the 1980 parts are based on the diaries I kept when I was travelling.
Really?
And in fact, I lifted some passages verbatim. So my 18-year-old self appears in here.
Great. Well, my 18-year-old self, which in 1963, I was in Germany in 1966,
Yes.
when for the first and only time, England won the World Cup.
Oh, you were there. You were there for the match.
And I was on duty maintaining a system that would have enabled us to bomb Russia to hell. And I listened to the match with through AFN, the American Forces Network, and we didn't believe it. Listening to it on radio, not seeing it, and watching the shift, it was ecstatic. So we got into the Land Rover with the flag and the Union Jack, and we didn't come down for weeks. In fact, a friend of mine had so many bets that he had crates of beer that he had to drink over about 3-4 months. And but it was a phenomenal time. But that was a team that was a team, not just a group of individual bodies looking to promote their own bit. And that's one of our problems, really. We don't do that.
With politicians.
So you were there in 1980. So
Yes, yeah.
the Iron Curtain gone or still?
No, still there, still very much so. Yeah.
So is that in there?
No, I didn't actually, because I remember at one point I was in the south of France, because I was just following where my nose leads, I do when I'm writing. And I was down in the south of France thinking, oh, I really want to go to Berlin. Shall I go to Berlin or shall I go to Italy? And I thought, well, I'd done art history and it's sunny and the beaches and there's everything I wanted was in Italy. And so I thought Italy. So I really regret I never saw Berlin when the wall was up, and I could have been there. I was really fascinated to see it.
Yes,
I was there in 1989, November 1989.
When it came
I was
down?
in Germany, yes.
Really?
Yes. I was an au pair for a year between 1989 and 90 when I went to university.
Wow.
So I wasn't actually in Berlin, I was in Hamburg, but I went to Berlin before November and afterwards.
Were you in the Reaper Band or the Winkelstrasse?
I visited both and went home
Weren't
again
they
afterwards.
Weren't they fascinating?
They were. There is a little
And the
bit
standard
in that
charge
book,
was
actually.
30 marks, which I found
Was it really?
Yeah, it was.
That's quite steep, isn't it?
Well,
For that-
I was there when the American fleet was in, and you had these young doughboys, and they said exactly that. When the girl said how much, and he said, "By God, I'm not paying that," and he was already half cut. He no doubt would later in the day, but at that time he wasn't prepared. 30 marks was, at that time, I think, probably, no, when I first went to Germany, it was 12 marks to the pound, $4 to the pound. I won't tell you what it currently is. Right, sorry, we've been distracted, haven't we, totally? So those are yours.
Yeah.
Now you're 5. Now where are these in the sequence?
This is the first one, which is Into the Darkest Corner, which came out about the same time as Ruth and Julia's first novels came out. And Behind Closed Doors is my most recent published novel as well.
Right, and the theme of... do you have a common character throughout, or do you have
No,
different
I wrote 3 standalone psychological thrillers, of which this was the first.
Right.
And then I wrote 2 police procedurals, which also have a domestic sort of theme, of which this is the second. But funnily enough, there is a character in Into the Darkest Corner who also appears in Behind Closed Doors. So there is a link
So you
between
keep
them.
bringing...
It
people
was-
pop up, I
It was a
suppose, don't they?
character that I loved very much in this book and felt that her story had only just briefly been touched upon, and I've wanted to write about her since then.
Now, one thing that I didn't say for our audience is, from what part of the country do you come from?
Norfolk.
Did you hear that?
I'm practically
They were
local.
rather... Sorry?
Practically local.
Right, excellent. So, we did have a quick brief chat about the fact that the BBC, in one of its longest running, in fact the longest running radio series in the world, The Archers, is dealing with a very subtle abuse within a relationship of a man and quite a fragile lady. And you got any comments on that?
Well, I don't watch The Archers. I thought it was just about dairy cows. So I've learnt something today. I'm going to now watch it.
Much more than that.
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
a whole
superb.
world.
And the
Oh,
writing is
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
It really
yeah,
is.
it
It's,
really is.
and it's just been as he's undermined her and destroyed her confidence.
So it's been going on for a few years, this
Yeah.
series.
Yeah, about 18, 20 months, I think. But the attempted sort of murder was sort of engineered by himself.
And actually had
but
slashed
she-
wrists, didn't he? And we don't know actually what caused the slashed wrists.
No, but there's
I'm a
a
bit
there's a
suspicious
deeper
about
plot,
that.
because what I don't understand is the character of his mother. But
Oh,
even
yes.
so, her relationship with his father, who seems to be a very abusive man.
Yes.
He's a grey, quite vicious, quite puts everybody down. You know, his son as well as his wife as well as anybody.
But I had
And you've
no
met
idea.
you've met people like that. You know,
Yes,
who really,
yes.
you know, it doesn't matter what they do; it's never quite good enough.
Well, there's a poem I could quote about what your mum and dad do to you, but I won't. Because
No, you
it's,
can.
No,
No, you
it's
can't.
a bit like, you can't, no.
Well, Philip Larkin, you'd forgive that, wouldn't you?
No, well,
Not
no.
copyrighting all this rubbish.
No, it's.
Oh yes,
yeah,
it
yes.
begins with F
Yes.
and ends with up. Yeah, he's right. Perhaps in some cases,
Yeah.
but the bit now is playing in real time, and you've done police procedure. So what you've got is a girl that was heavily pregnant, due to give birth. She's taken in charged. They won't allow her to go on bail, so she goes into the prison system. She's now been transferred to a mum and babies unit. She's had a child, which she initially rejected, really. She didn't know how to deal with it. And she's now being helped by a fellow inmate who's been through something not dissimilar. So you're getting that bonding between. It's cleverly put together.
Wow, sounds
It is
it.
cleverly
And what's
put.
really interesting about the storyline is what I said in the talk today, is that it's actually happening amongst the white middle classes in the shires, and they're saying like, oh, people, this doesn't happen to people like us.
It
The
does.
family is saying that, and also that Rob, the abusive character, when he first came in, you know, everyone loved him.
Oh,
he was
yeah.
charming. He was on the surface, and the mum and dad only found out the truth. Helen's mum and dad, that Helen's the woman who's being abused, only found out the truth about him after the stabbing,
Yeah.
because he so charmed them that they couldn't believe he could do anything wrong. And the friends that kind of knew what was going on didn't dare voice their concerns because they didn't want to upset the family.
But there's a smoking gun here, because what I want to know is the DNA on the sperm that he provided for a test for paternity, whether he actually acquired that from a Romanian worker rather than his own.
He might not be the
Because
father
that's
then.
still that's what I think happened. You know,
Goodness.
his wife.
Jess's.
I'm sorry,
Jess's
it's
baby,
too
that's
involved.
Oh,
what
Jess's
he's
baby.
talking
Oh, right,
about. And
Jess's
that might
baby.
be why. Was it Stefan who
Yes.
got bumped off in the culvert
Yeah.
because he?
And I have a feeling that it's a lot more dark. It's darker than we.
But you're
actually think.
thinking like a crime writer
Oh,
rather than an Archer
perhaps-
script
well,
writer.
perhaps I should. Seriously, with my interest in the Bartlett, Martello Towers, and the Wotan 100, I haven't got time to breathe. Anyway, young ladies, great that you came.
Thank you.
I
Thank
think
you.
Thank you for
this
having us.
particular book festival, and I think it's now the 5th.
Fourth.
I've been lying to you all this time. 4th.
Fourth.
The quality, the spread,
Oh, it's been amazing.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
It
And
gets better every year.
it does. So if we can just give everybody a wave, have a wave, and we'll see you next year probably.
See you next
And
year.
thank you, Ness, for all the work that you've done over these last 2 days. It's been awesome. So thank you very much from the Orwell Hotel, Felixstowe, Suffolk, East Anglia, England, the Northern Hemisphere, the world. Goodbye.